All right. So today, thrilled to have Greg Zing. We all call him Zing. Zingler, last name with us. Currently a KC-135R pilot. I'm not sure what that is, but you can tell us. In the Air Force Reserve. You're also currently a first officer for United Airlines. So flying commercial, baby. Zing's career has been, all over the place with service and leadership, raised in Severna Park, Maryland. He's a Naval Academy grad, class of 2010, Navy footballer, senior year of 09. You got a degree in mechanical engineering. Not many of that group did that.
There were not many in class with me.
Yeah, and there's a memory that pops up with that, so we'll get there. Let's see, previous roles. You were a TAD, so like a GA for the athletic department post-graduation from the academy. And then you went over to Georgia Tech and did some GA time over there. Went Marine Corps, became a pilot, served as a NB 22 Bravo pilot. What is that for the group?
So the Osprey, it's the
Osprey.
Yeah, it's the assault support weapon of choice for the Marine Corps. So the transformer-looking thing that can take off like a helicopter, fly like a plane.
Yeah, that was the one that, like, as we were going through school, had a whole bunch of crashes because it was kind of new.
Yeah,
you decided to go that way, huh?
Rough development. Had some good years. Thankfully, while I was flying, the last couple of years have been tough for the community, but it's ups and downs with anything in aviation.
Gotcha. From there, a deputy program manager at Oceaneering International at Hanover, Maryland. What was that high level?
So high level, I had a job offer from a regional airline right before I left active duty, and COVID threw that in the trash before I could even start training with them. So, made the decision with the wife to continue the off ramp from active duty, and essentially just networked my way into this company. It's it was just a way to pay the bills. The company's based in Houston, does a lot of stuff in the energy sector, and the business division I was specifically with in Maryland was government defense contracting.
Cool. Yeah. We'll get into that here in a little bit. Got some like to know more about that. So beyond his professional path, Zing deeply committed to personal growth, community service, coaching kids, youth, sports teams. His message is clear. Sometimes your best isn't good enough. It's how you react to the failure that defines you. And a bit of an advocate of improving every day. Memories, Bobby Doyle, and there were many others that brought this up as well. He brought up your Zerb pregame chant, Zerb Singleton's pregame chant before every dang game. Remind us what that was, and forgive me because I know I heard it a million times, but I can't hear it right now.
Zerb Singleton pregame chant.
Something that he used to do before games, and you carried it on once he was gone.
I'm trying to, because there were so many memories of Zerb, some not suitable for this podcast, but I'm trying to remember. I'll have to think on that. I'm going to think on it.
I'll ask Bobby. Bobby what it was.
Think on it, and
he remembers.
By the end, it'll come. But I can't think of a specific chant. Zerb was you always knew where Zerb was in the locker room pregame.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to think of what the specific chant was.
Hey, you made me feel a lot better about not remembering exactly what it was. So, all right. Austin Milkey said, so you were a mechanical engineer major, right? How did you manage that academic piece to balance the needs of Navy football at the same time?
What certainly helped that I wasn't trying to balance it with a significant amount of playing time. So that gave me more time to focus on the academics. I tell you what, I remember study hall plebe year with then Captain Ryan Hamilton. We'd all go to the library after, chow at dinner, and just being forced to sit down and knock the studies out really helped me. But I don't know. I don't know if I certainly found my place in the engineering department. Something I love doing, more of a math science guy than the English history type. But so it was stuff I was interested in, and just being provided with the environment to just kind of dig into that and really focus on a plebe year.
Gotcha. What was your toughest class throughout that major?
Throughout that major, geez,
The one that was like, man, I got to go to this class. I'm not digging it.
Man, I mean, fluid dynamics wasn't easy. But I tell you what, the professors in that department were just outstanding, and I really learned a lot from them. I mean, my toughest classes at the academy were like English 101, and
gotcha.
You know, yeah, all the basic English and history classes were where I wasn't as strong.
Gotcha.
My method for writing papers was to use as many footnotes and large
references
as possible. So I would frequently get feedback on my papers of like, well, thank you for telling me what this person thought about it, but what's your opinion? So,
if we only had ChatGPT back in the day.
Yeah, I got really good at footnotes.
Yeah. So you came from a class tonight. What kind of class were you at tonight?
Well, so I'm out in Denver right now. I'm in day 3 of basic indoc with United. So.
Oh, okay. So this is a new thing, like super new.
Yeah, super new. So
awesome.
I mean, go out here Monday, checked in Tuesday, and right into it.
Cool. All right. He said you were local, so you grew up around the Annapolis area. How'd that feel going home over the weekends?
I mean, it was awesome. I mean, yeah, born in Annapolis. We moved from Annapolis up to Severna Park when I started first grade. So it was definitely quite a different experience from what most of you guys went through. And at the time I loved it because I mean, whenever you had liberty or we had weekends off, you just go home and do your laundry and eat home cooked meals and chill in your basement and do whatever. But it's been funny. I mean, listening to a lot of your previous episodes and listening to the stories that you guys have of getting away to sponsors' houses or going to Kevin's family's house in Virginia. Certainly definitely missed out, I think, on a lot of the, the experiences and the camaraderie building that you guys had. Kind of being away from home kind of forced you to maybe form those tighter family bonds with the guys. But no, I mean, at the time going through was certainly nice to go home.
Gotcha. If memory serves me correctly, your dad was an academy grad, right?
Yeah. So I mean, football ties. My dad's older brother Chuck was a class of '80.
Okay.
He was a defensive back on the team while he was there. My mom's oldest brother was class of '83, and that's actually how my mom and dad met. My dad and my uncle were roommates plebe year, and so they were on the. At the time, my grandfather was coaching at Pitt, and my mom's from Pittsburgh, so my uncle and my dad were on the same flight home for Christmas leave. Mom and dad met at the airport. But so yeah, my uncle was there, and then my dad was class of '83 as well. He played sprint football.
Gotcha. Two great programs to be a part of.
Yeah. Back when the weight limit was like 150 pounds or something like that.
Yeah, and then based off of the supply chain, food made bodies a little bit different, I guess. Okay, next one, Ross Pospisil. He said, when I think about consistency and dependability, I think about Greg. He walked this. He knew his why and didn't deviate from living this out. Sometimes the path he walked even created fiction with other dudes who saw things differently in areas off the field, respective to the USNA culture. It would have been easy for anyone to react in extreme ways, change course, or break relationships. He somehow did neither. He stayed on his course, yet pressed in closer to others. Love and miss this guy. So, yeah, man.
I think that was Psalms chapter. No, I'm just kidding. No, Ross.
It's funny. I'm actually going through that right now.
Yeah. Kind words from an even kinder person. But yeah, man, it certainly was. I mean, looking back on it, I've had a lot of time to reflect on our time there and experiences there. I think what set me up, at least prepared me well for the challenges that I personally faced, and then I think that we collectively faced. One, being at the academy, but then throwing football on top of that I was always raised by my mom and dad to just focus on the things that you can control. And so whether that's in the classroom, dealing with all the brigade stuff, or at the, within the football program, focus on the things that you can control. And one step at a time, one event at a time, class at a time, one practice at a time. So if you're being asked to go knock out this workout, then go knock out that workout as hard as you can. If you're being asked to run these plays with the scout team, then run them as hard as you can, as best you can, to give the defense the best look. And in the long run, things are going to fall where they're going to fall, and it's all going to work out. And whatever that result looks like, it was meant to be that way. And so, that
was a big memory for me. You would fire up that scout offense, man, like no one else. So that's good. That is the mentality that the memories talk about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And again, I'd like to say it was easy, but certainly, I remember showing up when we first gathered as a team, plebe year. The quarterback room looked like, so we had Brian Hampton, who was going to start that season. Then you had Troy Goss, Jared Bryant, and Kaipo.
Yeah, and by the way, Navy recruits like 50 quarterbacks and then puts them in other places.
The plebe quarterbacks were myself. Apologies. These were Napsters. I think I've got their names. There was Scott Yingling.
Yep. Ying and Zing.
There was, I'm blanking on his first, I don't know if it was a Scott, but there was an Oswald who was
Scott Oswald.
Scott Oswald.
Yep. Yeah, his dad was like an astronaut, admiral.
Yeah, Bobby Doyle.
Yep.
And Mike Speciale. So there were 5 of us, freshman quarterbacks. And by the end of, by the time we got to spring ball that year, Mike was playing baseball. Bobby and Scott Oswald had been moved to slot back, and I think Scott Yingling had decided to leave school. Yeah. So I was the only freshman left in the quarterback room at that time. I was like, sweet, if I just grind it out for 4 years, my time's going to come. And then you show up to fall ball sophomore year, and this kid named Ricky Dobbs shows up, and I quickly redirected my focus to other things, and knew that it was going to be a battle all the way out. So yeah, man, it was I took a lot of pride in my role as with the scout team, because again, at the end of the day, we all just want to win collectively, and whatever your role is, Coach Niemot preached it constantly, was do your job. And if your job was starting quarterback, or placeholder for the field goals and PATs, or scout team quarterback, everybody's got a job to do. And so I took that to heart, and watching the home games from the stands freshman year, would take, I'd feel a lot of pride just watching the defense perform, and knew that I gave the best look I could to Rob Caldwell, Tyler Tidwell, like the giants of the defense at the time. So that was pretty cool.
Awesome. All right, man. Story time. Take us back to the beginning. Where does Zing come from?
Yeah. So again, born in Annapolis. My dad was supply corps in the Navy, on the Forrestal, an old aircraft carrier. He got out, worked for the athletic association for a while. And then when Alumni Hall was built and commissioned in, I think it was either 89 or 90, he got the job as the facility manager, the building manager for Alumni Hall. So grew up, moved up to Severna Park, for the schools up there. And so just growing up, being able to come down to, I think I came to more Navy basketball games growing up than I did football games.
Why is that? Just
because of the venue. And I guess just, spend more time there. I do remember going to games as a kid, getting on your cardboard box and sliding down the grass hill. This was also before all the stadium renovations. So,
right.
TJ Hall. I think class of like 94 or something like that. But he was like my idol growing up on the basketball team. And then my dad was also involved with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes back then. So I remember actually my first interaction with, Ben Fay and Clint Bruce and those guys was when I was in elementary school, going to FCA huddles with my dad,
Nice.
in the evenings, and just, getting drug around by those guys. So, yes, I mean, grew up in Severna Park, went to Severna Park High School. I actually didn't start playing football, organized football, until I got to high school. That was something my grandfather, who was a longtime player and coach, passed down to his three boys, and then my dad passed down to me. So started playing football. I was a soccer goalie and baseball player all the way up to high school. Then finally got the chance to play, and it was fun. I mean, at the time, so I started class of 06, so started high school in fall of 01 or 02, whatever it was. So at the time, the program, the football program, was coming off of a dip in success. I think Coach Weatherby had just been let go, and Coach Johnson was in his first or second year with the program. So again, being the ignorant, cocky high school varsity quarterback that I was, I thought my chances of getting to the academy and starting as a Naval Academy quarterback were pretty good. And then more wins, the Candidos, the Polancos, the Lamar Owens, those guys come through and just, take the program to the next level. And pretty soon we're getting athletes like Bobby Doyle and Scott Oswald to show up in the quarterback room. So it was, looking back, was definitely humbling to just be able to get the opportunity to be a part of the program. Buddy Green was my recruiter.
Nice.
And I'd tell people I would think I was more of a invited walk-on or permitted walk-on. I had decent grades in high school and was able to get the nominations or whatever you needed to get into the academy on my own. So, I think it was more just, you play football, you can get into the academy, you're more than welcome to come out on the team. So, yeah, it was good. But, yeah, man, I mean, in a nutshell, that's kind of how I got to Annapolis. I always wanted to play Navy football, and so it was just a blessing to get the opportunity to come to Annapolis. I had looked at some smaller schools when football was getting a little bit more serious, junior and senior year of high school. I actually took a junior year recruiting visit to West Point, and then some smaller schools like Brown and Bucknell had shown some interest. But as long as Navy was going to give me the opportunity, I was going to jump on that. So yeah, just blessed to be able to get there. And then I met all you guys in the summer of 06.
Cool. Well, then you get into school, and any fun or memorable key moments throughout those 4 years?
So, thinking back to your to Bobby's note about Zerb's chant, I don't remember a chant, but I remember he would always count down the days to game day. So, you show up to practice on Monday, and it was 4 days, baby, 4 days. And that's all Zerb would say for the entire day. And then Tuesday you come in, 3 days, baby, 3 days. But yeah, another good memory I have. So Jordan Stevens and I were locker roommates or locker buddies, locker neighbors, plebe year. And we had the very last two lockers next to the bathroom, like the showers and the sinks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you talk about a humbling experience as a plebe football player, as you're watching all these grown men come in and out of the showers multiple times a day was a memory that I will always have. So it was good times with Jordo.
Yeah, I'm sure there were a few zingers that came out of that. No pun intended.
Yeah. But
well, cool. And then so graduate, you go Marine Corps. Why'd you go Marine Corps?
Gosh, so I had awesome leadership. My company commander, I want to say it was plebe and youngster year, was a Marine, and really respected him. Rob Caldwell was in my company, so he was a firstie when I was a plebe, and I know he went Marine, so I had a lot of respect for Rob, and what he, especially not only what he did for the program, but what he did for me, kind of looking out for me within the company. I dated a girl sophomore year whose dad was a Marine, and he had a lot of good advice and impact on me coming up. So really, I think it was just the interactions I had with the officers on the yard. I came into the academy wanting to be a fighter pilot. I had an uncle, my uncle Dan, who I was talking about, class of '83. He was an F-18 guy in the Navy. So I just wanted to be a pilot. And then just over the course of my time there, my interactions with the Marine officers just left an impact on me, and so was able to get the air contract with the Marine Corps.
So you passed the test.
Passed the test.
Did you want to go Harriers going into it initially?
So I wanted to wanted to be a jet pilot, and then I got to TBS, and in the first CAS close air support demo that we had on one of the ranges there, it was a 2-ship of Cobras, and when I saw that, and the rockets and gun runs that they did, I was like, I want to be a Cobra pilot. And actually, gotcha. I think it was Lieutenant Colonel Steve Hall was my ethics professor, or leader, one of the leadership courses that we took in Luce. I want to say maybe it was ethics. He was a former CO of one of the skid squadrons out of Pendleton, Scarface. I'm blanking on the the number designation, but I would say of all the Marines that had an impact on me during my time there, it was him in that class. And so that, combined with my limited experience with Marine Corps aviation at TBS, steered me towards selecting that. And
gotcha.
then in the theme of sometimes your best isn't good enough, going through flight training, as with every timing's everything, at least in my experience, timing's everything in the military. Yeah. So I worked my tail off in primary flight training. I had grades good enough to go jets. So in flight training, everyone goes through the same primary flight training, and then out of there, the Marine Corps, you either track jets, helos, C-130s, or Ospreys. And the jets and the Ospreys at the time had certain GPA, we call it an NSS, but it's like your GPA, had certain GPA cutoffs that you had to get above a certain GPA essentially to be able to even select those. And so
that's because jets and Ospreys, the complexity is a little bit more like.
I think that's the idea.
Okay.
But yeah, so I had good enough grades to go jets. My selection sheet coming out of primary was helos, jets, C-130s, and Ospreys. And at the time, they needed Osprey pilots. And so needs of the Marine Corps, rock, paper, needs of the Marine Corps. And got tracked to Ospreys from there. But again, hindsight being 2020, I wouldn't have done it any other way. I had a blast flying the Osprey. So
yeah, they're pretty awesome.
Yeah,
at least to watch. So when you're flying one of those things, you're the first pilot I've gotten on here that's flown an Osprey. What's it like?
So it's much more comfortable up front than in the back. I have unending respect for our crew chiefs that fly around with us in the back. And I hated riding around in the back as a passenger, because straight and level flight in an Osprey is actually, so to be able to maintain your given altitude, you actually have to be 5 degrees nose up. And so for those, the seats in the Osprey go along the sides of the cabin. So it's not like you're facing forward, you're facing towards the center of the cargo compartment in the back, which means
you got a little bit of lean to you.
In left or right, depending on which side you're sitting on. So it's super uncomfortable, super loud. It's unpressurized, so we're limited on how high we can go. So it's usually really hot, really, really noisy, but I mean, it's effective at what it's asked to do, getting grunts and stuff into and out of tight places. So, yeah, man, I had a blast.
Did you ever have a pucker factor moment?
Several times.
Several times.
Yeah. Weather, going through, bad weather, or, yeah, sometimes flying. I mean, later on as a senior instructor flying with new students, sometimes they can scare you. So you always got to be on your toes. But
yeah, it's like the first time you take a right-hand corner in the car with someone that has a permit.
Yep.
In the car.
But yeah, no, it was good. I loved every second of it. And got to meet some great people. Actually, Jared Bryant. So I reunited with Jared.
Nice.
I got to my fleet squadron. He was in the same squadron, so we spent several years together there.
You know what he's doing now?
Yeah, so he is actually. I saw him actually. I reconnected with him. I was out in Japan for a couple weeks earlier this spring, and he was coming off of his department head tour as the maintenance officer for one of the squadrons out there, and he is now the 3 MEF CG's aide.
Gotcha.
On track to be, commandant of the Marine Corps if he wants to.
I bet you there's some really good training there.
Yeah, if not, Jared's going to go as far and as high up the chain as he wants. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Well, cool. And then anything else inside the military career you want to hit?
Not really, man. I mean, again, I just was fortunate. I did 3 deployments in 4 or 5 years on active duty. So,
where were those deployments to?
So all 3 of them were to what the Marine Corps called at the time, it was the Special Purpose MAGTF Crisis Response Africa. So it was basically the Department of Defense and Department of State's answer or reaction to Benghazi.
Okay.
So they essentially put a bunch of Ospreys and a bunch of grunts in Morón, Spain, which is an old Air Force base, joint Air Force, U.S. Air Force and Spanish Air Force base. And then we were essentially there standing in different alert postures for embassy reinforcement and stuff in Africa. So we bounced back and forth between Morón and Sigonella and places along the west coast of Africa and Central Africa. So they were relatively easy deployments given the, where we were staying, which were, developed, supported air bases with decent living, eating, and, fitness facilities. Connectivity was good and usually had Wi-Fi to talk to the family. So we certainly weren't roughing it by any means. But
any key takeaways from those deployments? I mean, anytime you're in a different, continent or area, you learn stuff.
Yeah, no, I would say I came away, especially with seeing the different parts of Africa that I did, just came away with, just a much greater appreciation for what we have here in the States. Just not only just the living conditions, but just the opportunities that we have afforded to us here. So I just gained a much better appreciation for what we have. And I think just has helped me keep things in perspective at times, when things aren't going the way you want them to or the way you think they should be going. I think it certainly has helped me to try to keep perspective on things and realize that it's all relatively still very, very good for the Zingler family with what we have. So
awesome.
Yeah,
no doubt. So you got out, transitioned. Why'd you get out?
Yeah, so I tried to do a couple different things while I was in. So I went through the weapons and tactics instructor course in spring of 2018. I got back from that, back to my squadron, and I had applied for an inter-service exchange So the Marine Corps has got a bunch of different inter-service exchanges, both international service exchanges as well as within our Department of Defense exchange. So the Osprey community has an exchange where they'll send one of the Marine Corps pilots to one of the Air Force CV-22 squadrons for 3 years. And then in exchange for that, there's a bunch of Air Force instructors that work at the schoolhouse, the V-22 schoolhouse in North Carolina. So one of the head instructors at the squadron ahead of me was currently filling that exchange, and raved about it. It was something I wanted to do. The Air Force employs their Ospreys strictly within their Special Operations Command, AFSOC. So wanting to fulfill a little bit more of my desire to, I'll just say, coming away from the deployments within the Marine Corps, got to do some cool stuff, flying through the French Alps and seeing different parts of Europe and Africa. But in terms of a direct impact to, again, at the time, an ignorant young junior captain with a desire to be on the front lines of whatever it was we were doing, thought I'd have that opportunity maybe with the Air Force in AFSOC than I would with the Gen Pop of Marine Aviation. So applied for that. At the time, I had someone in senior leadership that didn't necessarily want to see me leave the squadron I was with, so denied my package for that. I then applied for a straight up inter-service transfer to basically transfer from the Marine Corps to the Air Force active duty to go fly Ospreys with AFSOC. Sent a package to AFSOC. All the squadron commanders gave me the thumbs up. And then I submitted my package up to, headquarters Marine Corps, asking to be able to transfer. And, due to manpower issues at the time, they basically told me to pound sand. So, my last attempt to get out of the cockpit. So I basically, I was go for 4 years, wanted a break. We had 2 of our 3 kids at that point. So just looking for a break from the deployment cycles. I asked the monitor if I could just screen to come up to the Naval Academy, and basically was told that I could fill the military liaison position that Ross had filled, and Mike Walsh had filled the old Bryce McDonald, Ryan Hamilton role. And to be able to apply for that, you just have to get your monitor to sign off on it to basically allow you to just screen for it. And the monitor wouldn't let me do it. So,
hitting a whole bunch of roadblocks. Yeah.
So again, it was at that point, it was time that I decided the Marine Corps and I needed to see other people. So decided. Yeah. So decided to pursue leaving active duty, and then did a direct affiliation. So there's a direct affiliation program that the Marine Corps does, which basically allows you to transfer from active duty to SMCR, Select Marine Corps Reserve, without incurring a break in service. So I did that, and I was able to affiliate with the East Coast Reserve Osprey Squadron in Norfolk, and was able to scratch the itch, continue to fly Ospreys there while working as a civilian up in Maryland. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
And now you're with United Airlines.
I'm sorry.
Now you're with United Airlines.
Yeah. So it all works out. He's got a plan. So, so that was the reason why I decided to get out. Was basically I had worked my way up in the hierarchy of Marine Corps, the MV-22 community. The only, I guess, higher position I could have achieved was, going to the weapons school as an instructor, but was looking for a break. Didn't really have any interest in going to do a staff job anywhere. So it was all good. I served my commitment, no hard feelings. I know the Marine Corps didn't owe me anything. So it was all good. Did the commitment, decided to get out. And
gotcha. Controlling what you can control, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. stuff. People are going to tell you, no, timing's everything. It just doesn't work out a lot of times the way you want it to. And again, regardless of what you think your best is or how hard you work, you could be the most senior level instructor with all the qualifications, all the certifications. But for whatever circumstances, you can't pursue what it is that you want to pursue. So how do you respond? How do you regroup and come up with a new plan and continue pushing forward?
Gotcha. So you are not only flying for United, but also in the reserves flying with the Air Force.
Yep.
Right? Something you also wanted to do. What kind of bird are you flying?
So the KC-135, it's a Boeing 707 airframe, but it's one of the, I guess now 3 air refueling platforms that the Air Force flies.
Okay.
There's the KC-135, which again it's a 4-engine fixed wing platform. They have the old KC-10s, which have they're phasing those out, but they're the ones that have the 3rd engine and the actual vertical stab tail of the aircraft.
Okay.
And then the new hotness is the KC-46, which is a Boeing 767 that's going to be more and more coming on. It's already hit the fleet, but it's going to be replacing more and more of the old KC-135s and KC-10s. But yeah, it's been cool. I did a lot of time as a receiver looking up the hose and drogue of C-130s and KC-10s, and so it's cool being on the other side of the gas station, being the one pumping the gas and offloading the gas. So it's been cool.
Gotcha. Bet you that thing's a tank. All right. Well, cool. So you're just now getting into United. Why United? Why commercial? Just because you had the skill set, or like how'd that work?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, interesting how perspectives change. Coming up through, Marine Corps aviation, was never really interested in going commercial. I didn't really think I was going to enjoy what I perceived to be the monotonous, boring flying of flying people and from Baltimore to Denver, whatever the case was. But the more and more I learned about it, and the more and more I talked to my 2 uncles, one who was Navy and then transitioned to fly for Delta, and my other who was Air Force and then transitioned to fly for American. Seeing the quality of life that they had, the opportunities to travel, and the opportunities that they were able to provide for their families was very appealing. And then just learning more and more about it, and knowing that you don't have to take work home with you. So yeah, you spend probably more time away from your family than most professions. But when you're home, and you're not monitoring email, you're not answering phone calls. So that aspect really appealed to me, was the fact that I could, when I'm home not working, I can focus 100% on being a dad, being a husband,
Gotcha.
Taking care of stuff at home. So that kind of went for me. And then why the United piece? I mean, I can go into more detail than you'd like on just companies.
Why United over Southwest?
Why there's
I have to say that because Southwest's been all over the news.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, Southwest is a strictly domestic carrier. So, I mean, if you have aspirations of flying internationally, now, I mean, Southwest will do some Canada and South America stuff, I think, and maybe some Caribbean stuff. But if you want to get to the Pacific, or you want to get to Europe and see those different parts of the world, then you're going to want to go with an international carrier. So,
gotcha.
That was one of many reasons. But
back during COVID, there was the whole, pilot deal and like shortages and people quitting. And have you seen any of that? I know you're kind of getting into it, but
no, I mean, I've had nothing but good experiences so far. Now, granted, I'm day 3 with the company, but no, and I did quite a bit of traveling during COVID for my civilian job. I never really saw much of the interactions with passengers and flight attendants that made the news.
You haven't had anybody that said that person in the back's not real.
Yeah,
person's not real.
The lizard lady. Hope she's doing all right, but I think she had more than just thinking she saw a lizard person. But
no doubt.
yeah, so I mean, I've had good experiences, and thankfully, I think most of the contentious or questionable practices or mandates or whatever the case was with air travel that we saw back in 2021, even maybe early 2022, aren't really anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Taking it back, coach story. You got a good coach story?
Coach, which one? So
any kind of fun, memorable thing.
So my there's a lot of Paul Johnson memories. I'd say the one that is burned into my mind the most. Winter workouts, plebe year. So we just finished our first season. I don't know if this was like a plebe, if it was like a plebe workout or like a scout team thing. But Coach and Ryan Hamilton pulled us all into Joe Bellino, and we were voting on the Ronnie Winchester Award recipient for that year. And so, Ryan gives, his, he was, best buddies, teammates, I think, with Ronnie, if I'm not mistaken. So it, was certainly meant something to him. And Coach Johnson gave his spiel on kind of what it means and, what you should be considering when casting your vote for who you think should get it. And so we all cast our votes. We go back into the weight room and we're doing our workout. And then maybe, 15, 20 minutes later, Ryan comes back into the weight room. He's like, all the plebes get into Bellino now. And so were you part of this? Do you remember this? You know where I'm going with it? Okay. So we all shuffle back into Marino, and PJ gets up in front of us, and he's like, you dumb mother effers. Which one of you voted Ricky Bobby to receive the Ronnie Winchester Award? Yeah. And it's crickets, no hands, no one volunteered. And he's like, I'm going to ask you again. He might have asked us like one or two more times. And he's like, all right, y'all don't want to fess up. Get your cleats on, get your ass outside.
You know what's funny? It hasn't come out yet, but I just got done with Doc Fair.
Yeah.
And I asked him about this, and he said the exact same thing. He got a call from Coach Johnson. I was like, get ready.
Yeah.
Get your stuff. It was late at night.
Yep. So we proceed to go out to the grass practice fields. Again, it's January, February. We're still doing workouts. We haven't had spring ball yet. And he must have asked Coach Speed to come out and handle us, because I just remember Coach Speed beating us for 20 or 30 minutes. And I remember on our way out, so we were on our way out to the field to get our beating, and finally Chad Peterson comes up to Coach, and he's like, hey, Coach.
It was me.
It was me. And I forget what exactly he said, but it's like, oh, you lost your chance. Like, you should have said
too
it.
Late.
Oh, too late. You're all going to get beat for it. So, and I think, one of the one-liners I remember him saying was like, if y'all want a Ricky Bobby so bad to, win this award, well, hell, I want to meet the guy. And just listening to Coach Johnson.
If you ain't first, you're last. That's what I remember him saying.
That was my PJ, I guess one of the PJ stories. For Coach Niemont, man, I definitely I noticed a change in his demeanor from when he went from O-line to head coach. So our bowl game youngster year against Boston College was plebe year, and then it was Utah. I thought it was it Utah Poinsettia Bowl, and then we had Wake in DC?
Maybe. Yeah, you're right.
I think it was Utah up in the Poinsettia Bowl. So that was his first game. He was the interim head coach at the time, and was hired in that offseason. But I personally noticed a change in his demeanor from being the O-line coach to assuming the head coach role. And I don't know, man. It's just, it's one of the, I think, most fair, nicest people I've ever met. And everyone has their memories of Coach. I've got good memories of Coach Green, Coach Jones. Hal, do you remember Hal Bowrun? Bowrun?
No, I don't. I remember Hal. I don't remember his last name.
I think it was Hal.
I think he was a slot back.
I think it was anyway, I think he was a slot back a class or two after us. And he had the best impersonation of Coach Jones that I think I'd ever seen. He came in, he did the whole walk. You know how I remember Coach Jones used to walk out,
waddle,
had the accent and everything. And I don't know if it was trying to remember who had the best Coach Green impersonation, but all the memories that have been listed here. I've got so I watched your episode with Bobby McLaren. In high school, I volunteered with the athletic department and Scott Strassmeyer. So as a high school kid, I would go to all the home games. I'd be up in the press box and I would run the stats. So after every quarter, they would print out the stats for that quarter, and I would just run the copies of the stats to all the different media organizations up in the press box.
That's cool.
So it was a cool way to watch the games, and actually got to sit behind Coach Steve Belichick for a couple of seasons while he was there at the games. But so I remember, where was I going with this?
Bob McLaren's episode.
Yeah. So I was at that game at FedEx Field in the press box in the northwest corner of the end zone as he broke up that pass with his club, his boxing glove club. And I think it was the first time they'd beaten Air Force in a long, long time. So yeah, just fortunate to see kind of the come up of the program and be a part of it while I was there, and just it was awesome. So
awesome. After graduation, you went to Georgia State or Georgia Tech for a while. What took you there?
So there were two scholarship programs at the time of the academy.
That's right. Yeah.
One of them was called VJEP. I don't know what the V stood for. Something graduate education program. It was basically we took all those tests during plebe summer to like validate Calc 1 or whatever the courses were that we were trying to test into to see where we kind of placed. So basically, if you had validated enough classes in plebe summer that you basically didn't have enough credits left to take your first year, there was a program where you got to second semester first year go to like Hopkins or University of Maryland and start your master's program there. The program I did, the immediate graduate education program, or IJEP, was basically you apply for it, and then based on your class rank, you either get selected for it or not. I want to say it was maybe like 20-ish guys, ensigns, guys and gals that commissioned to the Navy, and maybe 9 to 10 second lieutenants that were commissioning Marine Corps. Got to do the program, and you essentially applied to whatever school you wanted to, as long as you were going to study an approved subject area or major. And then you had to get like 50% of your tuition covered by scholarships or grants or something. So anyway, I was an engineer, mechanical engineering at the academy. Funny enough, mechanical engineering wasn't an approved subject area at the time, but aerospace engineering was. So instead of trying to petition some general somewhere to give me permission to go study,
it's a good one to get into. Did you finish that?
I did. So I did aerospace engineering. I just had applied to Georgia Tech because I knew it was had a great engineering program, and I had family down at the Atlanta area. So it was a pretty sweet deal, man. It was I was a second lieutenant living in Midtown Atlanta in an apartment, PTing with the ROTC kids, once a week, getting paid as a second lieutenant to go to school. So I did a fall, a spring, and a summer semester in the aerospace engineering department, and then from there I came up to Quantico and checked into TBS.
Gotcha. So you finished your master's there?
Yeah, it was
3 semesters.
3 semesters. Well,
Goodness.
it was kind of an eye opener because I mean we were used to how many credits did we take at the academy? It was usually like 20-ish, 21, 22 credits. I feel like at Georgia Tech it was only like maybe 12 or I think the entire program was maybe only like 33 credit hours or something like that. And again, I was just itching. I was watching all of you guys, you know, go on to do great things in the service, and I was just kind of getting that itch to again. Thankful I was there.
Yeah, but think about, you know, time benefit versus effort. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of effort there, but man, that was a killer program. Knock it out.
Yeah, again, as a young dude with, you know, seeing all of his buddies go off to deploy and work up. You know, I was thankful I was able to do it, but took my degree and ran, and got to Quantico after that. But great experience. It was, you know, a nice, definitely a different educational environment than the academy. It really made me appreciate the quality of the professors we had, and I guess the environment that the academy provided for our education.
Yeah.
Seeing that versus, you know, a state or a private institution, whatever.
Good structure.
Yeah, for sure.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that was good to put on the resume, but I have no desire to go back to school.
Hey, you never know. You may get done flying with United and then go build airplanes with Boeing for the Air Force.
Never know.
How about mentor? Best mentor?
Man. I guess just while at the academy or just in general?
In general.
Man. I had a lot of great influences in my family. Was very fortunate in the influence I had in my family. Again, just watching the examples of the guys that came before us. I mean, even the guys from, you know, the teams in the 90s, being able to watch those guys, Clint Bruce, Andrew Thompson, Ben Fay, and then just, again, the guys that we showed up as plebes, you know, Jeremy Chase and trying to remember who the other guy was that was running the scout offense at the time.
Jake Biles?
I think it was him.
Or no, he had been on defense.
Because him and Rob Caldwell ran at the youngster years. So I'm trying to remember who ran with Jeremy. But anyway, but
Beardo.
It was Beardo. You're right. But yeah, so I mean, whether it was a formal mentorship, like mentor-mentee relationship, or just the ability to watch and observe the level of effort and the caliber of guys that just set the example for us. And it certainly doesn't hurt when you've got a Ross Pospisil in your class, on your team,
no doubt,
captain, and an Osei Asante. So yeah, I mean, I think it was certainly a village of mentors, whether they knew it or not, that really had an impact on me and kind of the approach I took to both, you know, the academy as well as being on the team.
Gotcha. If you could go back and do something differently, what would you have done differently?
Ooh. Been faster, taller. No, I'm just kidding. No, I get asked the question a lot more of like, when you're talking to people and they find out you went to the academy and they don't know much about it other than, you know, maybe what they saw James Franco portray on that terrible movie. Like, hey, would you go back and do it all over again? And I tell them, like, if I didn't have the football team and the brotherhood, coming from a guy who all he wanted to do his entire life was go to the Naval Academy and become a pilot, having gone through the academy with you guys and with the team, I don't think I would go back and do it again if I didn't have that. I would still probably pursue the service via some other commissioning source or avenue and maybe gone to play football somewhere else. But I don't think I would have done it again just because of, I don't even know if I have a good reason for it, but I think it was just that that great of an experience, and formation for me as a man to experience that with you guys. So if I could change anything, man, I mean, to wish I could have contributed more on the field, I think would maybe be more like selfishly driven, because at the end of the day, we had great teams, good teams, and great seasons. We ended on a really, really high note, 10-win season, victory over Missouri in the Texas Bowl. So, I mean, to go out like that and to play in the places we did against the guys we did, I know it's tough to pick something out that I would change, because it's pretty sweet looking back on it. I mean, perspective is everything, but
yeah.
I don't know, maybe beat Notre Dame 3 times instead of 2. I don't know. It's like what do you?
I got you. No, that's good. No, it's okay. It's actually awesome when you can look back and say, I wish I wouldn't have changed a dang thing. Right.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. What's your biggest obstacle or struggle that you're working through today?
I would say it always requires effort for me to be present. I'm kind of wired to always look for what's next and to kind of look ahead, which in a sense has served some benefits and the ability to kind of plan and try to to get to where I am now. But just to focus on being present, especially with the kids. My kids are 8, 6, and almost 4. So a very, very formative time in their lives.
Yeah.
And my wife's been doing all the heavy lifting on the home front for me, for our family since, we've been on active duty and deployments and trainings, and now coming out here is more of the same. So,
awesome.
Just being able to really give 100% of myself to them when I'm home. It's not hard per se, but definitely requires a purposeful approach, I think. To be that.
Yeah, you're not alone. There's a lot of guys same bucket, I think,
for sure,
going through these. Well, cool, man. Well, what's your price of admission?
My price of admission, again, kind of what I teed up in that survey for you. Again, being able to look back and kind of analyze my experience was just being able to be at peace with the fact that, again, sometimes your best just isn't good enough, and isn't good enough in the sense that it may not achieve the result or the end state that you want, whether that's starting time on the football team or the promotion at work, whatever the case may be. You can control everything that you can and do your best or whatever you can to influence that, and still might not work out. And I think what I have come to learn is that it's really how you regroup, how you debrief yourself to be able to adapt, reload and reattack, is I think how you can even, grow and improve more as a person than if every time you tried something, it worked out for you. So, the price of admission is being willing to attack a challenge or accept a challenge, knowing that your best may not be good enough, and having the humility to accept defeat or accept a setback when it comes to you, but then have the resolve to regroup and try it again with a different approach, or tweaking something here, because what they say, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. So and then at times you just gotta, whether you're a person of faith or not, I certainly am, and so I believe that everything's everything happens for a reason. Whether you can appreciate or understand that reason in the moment or not, I'd say more times than not, I don't necessarily understand why things happen the way they do, but give it time, and usually it has a way of revealing itself to you. So, I mean, who knows if I had made one decision here, if I hadn't gone down to Georgia Tech, maybe I wouldn't have connected with my wife when we did. And everything can domino effect, and you could be in a completely different place than you are today, and probably not, maybe not as good of a situation as you are. So I know, long-winded answer. But just being able to be at peace with knowing that sometimes you'll have to try a second or a third time to get to where you want to be.
Yeah, keep pedaling, right?
Yep.
Well, cool. What's your wife's name?
Brooke.
And so you're in different places tonight, right? Because you're going through this training. So make sure you give her a call and say thank you for all you do. Sure. Sounds like she's definitely been a rock for you. 8, 6, and 4-year-old.
Yeah, I was actually just able to catch up with them before we jumped on, but they were just getting back from the 6-year-old soccer practice. So she's a rock star, man. I know a lot of us knuckleheads don't deserve the women in our lives with how awesome they are, but I certainly consider myself blessed with the bride that I have and the kids that she and I have been able to raise together. So awesome. All good things, man. It's all good.
Sham well.
Yeah.
Well, man, good talk today. Really appreciate you getting on. Yeah, it was good.
Awesome. I appreciate it, man.
All right, man. Take care.
See you.